Good morning, Dr. Elvin.
Are you doing today?
Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good evening, Doc Merlina. No audio. Hello, Sir Mike. Good morning, Sir Mike. Doc Merlina, you don't have audio.
Yes, I have audio now. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm trying to get everybody in. So let me.
Giselle is there.
Giselle. Okay, here we go.
Sir Mike.
Yep, I see that. Let me see if I can get Mike as the host. Okay.
And then Ma'am Leila would like to come in.
Okay, Mike, you're the host, so you can get everybody in. Okay, I'm gonna get started.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank
that,
you.
Doc.
Thank you. I
How
was
are you,
running
Doc?
late. Sorry.
Yeah, no
Anyway.
problem, Doc.
Good evening.
How's everybody?
Sir
Did
Mike.
everybody have a good week? Everybody had a
So
good
far,
week?
so good, Doc.
Yeah, I have a special guest here with me, four teachers and one husband. I don't know, full house. Let me see, there you go. They're eating.
Wow.
Yeah, they're eating breakfast.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. There we go. You see?
Good morning, Mare.
Good morning, yeah. Hey, go ahead, close it.
Morning, Mylet. How?
Yeah, they're over here visiting. And they woke up really early to make breakfast. So they have this old fiesta of breakfast stuff here. We have buad, we have what's that? Isda, eggs, chicken, longanisa. Oh my gosh. So manglaag mi karon.
Yeah.
We're gonna go somewhere. Maybe while I'm zooming, maybe Maria can take you all to like the park, maybe Maria, and take pictures there. There's really pretty there, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe to the mammoth if you want. Yeah, you just set. Yeah. Anyway, so far there's Giselle, you're really becoming a regular. Thank you so much. Huh?
She's
No.
my niece.
Yeah.
as
my
well.
aunt.
Well, the aunt, yeah. They are your relatives here are very happy.
She's a math teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be absent, Doc. I want to be here.
Just like that.
Giving out, yeah, you miss them, huh?
Yeah, yes, Doc.
Yeah, I feel lucky that they're here with me. So they're over there driving already this morning, practicing
That's
driving.
why I woke up early, like
Really?
quite early, because so that I can drive after.
Yeah, that's another thing we can do too, is you all could practice driving with my car. Yeah. Yeah. And then Maria, take them out there to the esquina, diba? And coming back. Or you can even make a circle,
Here
like
with
right there,
your
esquina.
car.
Yeah. And then you go to the airport. Yeah. Cross real quick here. Make sure you look up. Yeah, you look up at make sure there's no airplanes coming. Anyway, are we the only four really? Mike, do you mind putting it on GC, Mike, that we're on? They may have come in earlier and it wasn't on.
Yes, Doc, yes.
Thank
Apo,
you.
apo.
I'm gonna see if we can get another filter here.
Ito na meron. Let's go there.
Oh yeah, it's really pretty.
No.
No,
Waterfalls. Oh, what did?
waterfalls.
Springs. Siya makusog kayo yung flow.
Pila ka million, yeah, million of gallons.
Millions of gallons per hour. Then, it's not what ito ang quote nga pang
Yeah, right.
Doc Merlina. There is a lot of swimming holes in your place in Arkansas. I have seen it in YouTube, and I would love to visit your place.
Yeah.
Swimming holes.
Yeah, there's a lot of swimming holes here. In fact, I took Alvin
In-
and I took Alvin and Abby last time in swimming hole. You see pictures where they are like over there looking for, oh, that's one thing you can do too. You're looking for crawdads, which is like the little hillbilly lobsters. They're the little bitty, yeah, they're little baby lobster stuff. And they got us a bunch, and then we released them in our pond. So that yeah, Sturkey. Yeah, you go to Sturkey. Do you remember how to get there? I'll have to go with you, I think. It's just out of town right here and just like heading towards Mountain Home. Yeah. And in okay, so anyway, so where did you find the swimming hole? Dr. Elvin, where did you find that? You said you found it on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah?
Yes.
What did it say? What did you see? What kind?
Most found in Ozark Mountain. I think Ozark. What is that? Ozark Mountain.
Ozark. Yeah, we're in the Ozark Mountain. Yeah, we are part of, yeah, Arkansas is part of the Ozark. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's very beautiful. It's like a lot of nature stuff. And then right now with the fall, it's the changes of colors. Really pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he even mentioned there that the locals would not advertise the place so that it would remain private.
Yes, yes. And exactly, that's exactly right. In fact, I've been living here for more than 30 years and I just found some new of the swimming holes because my stepdaughter Libby showed it to me. Those are her swimming holes when she was younger, where
Yes.
they would like, swim with their friends. And then when I went down there, I saw some people using it at like a beach, they had like umbrella, they have like, beach umbrellas there. They have little chairs and all that. And it's like, just like a regular beach, except it is not, salt water. Huh? What happened?
You can get out.
Okay, I wonder. Anyway, hang on. Let me get somebody out here. She cannot get out. Hang on.
Good thing
Okay.
you're so tiny.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started. Leslie's funny. So did anybody use any of the strategies or any applications in your classroom that you want to share? Because I asked this ladies over here to share something whenever they get done eating. So so Leslie, you want to share something?
I just want to share.
You want to? Okay, I'm gonna have Leslie sit here where I am so she can share. Just take turns that way.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Hi everyone. It's nice to see you all. Well, I was teaching last month. I was teaching math 7th and 8th grade, so I was in the middle school. But then I am being transferred to special ed. So I'm just gonna talk about how different it is in the Philippines. Special ed in the Philippines is like, it's not given a lot of attention, but it's different in here. Like I read somewhere that special education is not being given like a budget for this year, for the next school year, a funding, yeah, in the Philippines.
Wow.
But in here, special education is really like
Priority.
a priority. So yeah, it's really like that in here. Like we special education students, they have a very nice classroom. They have all the resources in here, and the rights that they have, it is really like, it is being given to them and everything is implemented. Like, in the Philippines, I did not see that in there, but I'm not saying that it's bad in there. It's just that, they know the priorities in here is different than in the Philippines. So that's I think that's all I have to say. And then, well, of course, with the students, it's different in here. The culture, they have different cultures. We have different cultures. Like in the Philippines, I used to have kids who would just sit in the corner or who just sit down and not talk. Or if you would like to ask them questions, they would not say anything at all. If you ask them, do you understand? And they would just say, yes, ma'am, and nothing else more. But in here, well, students here would really speak their mind, like, whatever they want to say, they would really like talk to you, they would like to communicate with you, and sometimes in a rude manner. So it's really like a big difference from the Philippines, but overall, like, if you will be able to adjust, you can get the hang of it at the end of the day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Make you happy.
right? And just be like water.
Well, they're crazy about her though. You have to tell her about some kids think that you're a kid too.
Yeah, some of my kids, because I am a very tiny person. I am just like 4'11". So I am actually married. I am already 32. I even have a wedding ring, but they don't believe that. And my kids, they are like, my special ed students are like 19 years old, 18 years old, and they think that I'm single, that I am just young and everything like that. So some of my kids were even saying that they want to take me out to dinner and everything like that. So
Inappropriate.
it's inappropriate. So you really have to talk to them. And I also talk to our principal, to the person who is, assigned to discipline, and sort things out, because in here you cannot just, because in the Philippines we have to do it all ourselves. Like, it is really like, it never happens with, well, for 11 years of teaching in the Philippines, I never went to the principal to ask for some help to discipline my students. Like, I have 50 students in my class. I didn't do that in the Philippines, but in here it really takes a community it takes a village to get your classroom management done. Because it's really different to really have to ask for some help. You cannot just do it alone in here all by yourself. So
many things.
many things. Yeah. So I guess that will be all, because there are a lot of us here. They're like,
Yeah, Maria's
4
gonna share
teachers
her
of-
year 1 and year 2
Maria will
possibly.
also share, and there's Ma'am Abigail and Ma'am Christine. So
So,
thank you very much, everyone, for
and
listening.
here's Maria,
And here's Maria.
the original girl. Sure, the original, the pioneer.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Look at her.
Oh, this is what happens when you're always in Zoom. Anyway, I feel like it will be my 1 year next week in the 23rd. It will be my 1 year already here, and when you come here and you can really see how different it is within yourself, not just professionally but also personally. Like, you will really grow. Say for example, at first you'll be just so afraid, like, what to do. You don't know what to do at first. Like, you're trying to figure out things, but eventually you'll get the hang of it. That's what Miss Leslie said. And also you will be able to build very good rapport with your kids over time. I mean, like, at first you might be feeling like you want to cry when you come here, but no, I really didn't cry when I came here or whatever, just because of my work. My mantra is I should not cry because of work. I always think of it that way. Like, I always think that I should be crying because I miss my parents, I miss my family, not because of work. That's just how I see things. So you have to have a discipline within yourself. Like, how will you be able to handle things? You can't just cry over these things, because at the end of the day, you are here to work. So why cry over those things? Like, you have to find a solution. Because for me, I think crying wouldn't help. I mean, like, yeah, you can cry, but crying wouldn't really help you at all. So you have to find solutions. And also, you will also realize how important it is to reach out to people. Like, as what Miss Leslie said, you cannot do it alone. You're not alone in this battle. So you have to reach out with some people. That's what, when you come here, that's what you have to remember, that you should not be shy in asking help from these people, because they will really help you. And don't hesitate. So you have to change your mindset from, even if you're still there, you have to change your mindset in how it works in here, because it's very different. Now, if you're not going to ask help from them, you will suffer really, because you don't know how to ask help, and that's very important in here. And you have to know when to communicate. And even though they're administrators, think of them as people like you, that they're also doing their job. So don't be afraid to ask, just because they are in the high in the
Higher, yeah.
higher
Level.
rank or level than you, but think of them as people that also doing their jobs. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because I think in your case or most of your guys as public school teachers there, you always think of it that way. Oh, I don't want to ask help from my principal. I don't want to ask help from my supervisor, etc., etc., because they're higher than me, and I think that I can just do it alone within myself, handling my classroom. But no, eventually you will really ask help, because you are new when you come here, and you will really be shocked with how different it is when it comes to culture. And you might be discouraged over time that, oh, this is not going to work for me because this is different from what I experienced. So you really have to set your mind, and this is really a mental battle when you come here. Like for me, crying would really help you at all.
Did you cry though?
I cried. Well, I'll be honest with it. Well, personal life, I cried when I first came here because it's just me, and then no one else was there to guide me or to welcome me, only the administrators from the school. But it will really challenge you on how to handle things alone also.
Staying in the apartment by yourself.
Staying in the apartment all by yourself, because you can just say, when you come here, you can just think of like, oh, I want to be with them because they are there. But like you don't think of it that way. You have to think of the worst case scenarios as well. Like you don't think of yourself as, when you come here, like you're already privileged right away, because that's not the reality. That's not always the reality in here.
Yeah.
Because not all people will maybe get help. So you have also to find ways on how you can get help. So as what I've said, you can just cry and then just sit and just not do anything at all to fix anything or to solve things that it needs to be solved.
So I should change that with apartments, how to get.
Yeah, and apartment wise, yeah, you have to have a good mental state in finding places and finding apartments, in doing the bills, and that's part of it, in doing the power bills and also the water bills. That's part of it.
Internet,
And yeah, and the internet. And you might be shocked that in the Philippines you are not doing credit cards in there, because you're just so afraid to use credit cards. I don't know if you all have credit cards there, but here it's I don't know. I think it's a necessity to have credit cards in here, because to build credit, and that's just how it works in here. You will eventually see when you come here that people will just really use their cards instead of having cash, and that's very handy for them. So yeah, you also have to change your mentality about that you should not be afraid to use credit cards, because that's just really is essential in here.
Just pay it off. Yeah.
Yes. And also you will have to find your own car. You'll have to find an insurance of your car. Yes, there's just a lot of things that you have to work on. And again, you really need to ask help from people that knows about it. And when they tell you things that they know, I mean, like, don't try to counter argument. Is that the right word? Don't try to argue with them just because like you know it better. Accept their opinion, and then try to analyze if their opinion is right or what. So it's just really within you, but don't try to intervene them when they're giving you opinions. That's just really essential in here, because don't try to think of yourself as a high person when you come here, because at the end of the day you come here to work and then provide for your family.
Yeah.
So,
Yay.
I hope you understand what I'm saying. Give me a thumbs up if you understand everything.
Well said.
That will really help you when you come here.
Call
I'm
me-
serious
call Abby
about
next,
that. Yeah. So next is Abby. Next is Abby. Yes. Yeah.
Any
For
learnings that you
what?
have then?
How many months you've been here?
I was here 12th of August, September.
Tell about
3
school
months,
plus
3
getting
months.
Alvin and so on.
Yeah,
Your
so
feelings before.
Abby here has it. Abby is with her husband. So let's
No, but they
see.
don't para makailan.
Let's see, guys. When you have a plan to bring your wife or
what I'm gonna
husband in
share.
here,
Yeah.
That's
she's
what I'm
gonna share it with you
J1 and
all.
J2,
So
yeah.
take note if you plan to bring your other half here and your kids in here.
Yeah,
Thank you,
come on,
guys.
Go over there. Introduce yourself if you want. No, just pakita lang.
Hi everyone, good morning and good evening.
Uh-huh.
I'm Abby and this is my husband. He just got here a month ago. And actually, so here's the tip, because my colleagues here have been asking me, what are the questions thrown to him during the embassy interview? And actually, he's the luckiest one because he hasn't got any.
What?
Nothing at all. So this is the tip that I have to give you. If you are planning to bring your other half here or your kids here, process their papers along with you.
Yeah, because you will take
Yes.
the time to.
If the visa sponsor will say, send your marriage certificate, the passport of your spouse and everything, send it to them so that you will get your DS 2019 together. You can go to the embassy together to have an interview, and he or your spouse or your kids will not be asked anything. The only thing that I was asked is, how are we related to each other? And I said, he's my spouse. And then they asked for a marriage certificate, and I showed it to them, the original one from the PSA. And then she looked at it and said, congratulations, you passed. So that's it. So this is a tip. If you're planning to bring them with you, process their papers together with yours so that your J2 won't be having a hard time if they plan to follow you. I actually didn't bring him with me when I came here because of financial matters, you know. But after I got my first pay, I sent the money so that he could come here. Yes, and having your other half here, your kids here, will really is the pain, missing your kids. We actually have 4 kids in the Philippines. My eldest is 12 and my youngest is 6 months now. He was 4 months when I left. So it is really, really painful every day. I don't want to cry. it is really painful every day. I miss them terribly. But his presence here made the pain bearable because we both share the same feelings. So we comfort each other. So that's the best thing.
Employment authorization.
Yes, and I am waiting for his employment authorization. I already sent it to USCIS and they will just mail it to us. And when your spouse will get here, Mom Merlina and I can help you with those. We promise.
And then what is he doing while you're waiting for that?
So while waiting, he's stuck in the house, doing everything he can, fixing the doorknobs, the sink, and everything he could. And he is actually studying the driving test book so that when we will take the test, hopefully we will pass it. Because traffic rules here is totally different. We have traffic rules in the Philippines, but we just don't follow them. But here you have to strictly abide by those laws and rules in traffic.
Yeah, and Alvin, do you mind sharing what were your things that you learned that's new to you? Yeah, anything that's new that you found is different.
Go.
The traffic rules, ma'am.
Traffic
Yes, yeah.
rules.
Look at them.
Yeah, the traffic rules is different here compared to Philippines. Yeah, because there's a lot of other rules that we did and that applied in our country in the Philippines, and that's all. And you must abide the traffic rules here because there's a lot of police.
You will just be surprised. There's a light.
And you will follow you.
The difference. Oh yeah, tell them about the experience.
Yeah.
One time, last time we were here, that was 2 weekends ago. We were here and we went to Horseshoe Bend,
25 minutes.
just 25 minutes away from here. And then going home, we were just our speed doesn't beyond the limit, and we were surprised because there's a police car with a blue light
Following us.
and oh my god. So that's how they stop a car if they found it violating the rules and the laws. So they will just follow you, no siren, you can't hear a thing, you just see the blue light behind you, and then it's a signal that you really have to pull over. So we were so shocked. And then the policeman asked, are there any guns? Or
because you're not supposed to get out of
yes,
the car either.
you cannot when a police officer stopped you and you pulled over, you are not supposed to get out of the car.
And your hands on the way.
And your hands is open on the wheel,
Yeah.
on the wheel. And when they ask for your license and your car registration, that's the only thing that you will start getting those things. And if you say it's in the, what do you call that?
Compartment.
It's a compartment. So do you want me to get it? And they say, okay, get it. So that's the only time you move your hands.
Yeah.
And they will really ask, do you have guns or any harmful things in your car? So you say no, and they will say it again, ask it again. Do you have guns? And
That could hurt me.
and then they will get your license and your car registration, and
They go check it in their
yeah,
car.
check it in their car. And the good thing about that is Mom Ellen didn't get a ticket.
You don't know who Ellen is.
Doc Merlina, I'm sorry. Doc Merlina did not get a ticket from the police officer, and we were so relieved.
It's usually like about $200.
About $200. So,
If you get one, yeah. And tell them a reason why he
much.
pulled us over.
and the reason why the police officer pulled us over is because he said, Doc Merlina was driving, swerving, and
Hitting the middle line. Yeah.
hitting the middle line, the yellow solid line. And we actually didn't notice it. We
Yeah, 'cause
actually
we were
didn't
talking.
notice it because we were talking. We were so busy talking. So that's it. It's part of the new things that we learned here.
Yeah, and tell them about the use of horns.
Yeah, and the difference here in the Philippines is you cannot use a horn if you want to pass the other vehicle because
It seems rude to them if you blow your horn like and hey, just like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah,
cuss
they
at you.
will really cuss at you like
It's so rude to them.
it's so rude to them. You can only blow your horn,
It's an emergency. But
yeah, for an emergency, but you really can't just use it anytime. You
Anytime.
can't. It's useless. In the Philippines, we make it so loud, like the whole community can hear it, but here, no.
You could get shot. Some people get mad.
Yes. Those, especially those people who has anger management
Yeah.
issues.
Do you have lights? Like the use of lights. You said
Yeah.
something about when you.
when
your lights.
when we
The blink, like
Blinker.
blinking the headlights.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you want to go first, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then here, no. What does it mean?
Oh, it's
Cop.
like
Telling the cops that there's a.
There's-
Not telling the people.
yeah. In the Philippines, if we want to go first, like we want to
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
left first or turn right first, we usually, what do we call that?
Do you
Blinking.
turn signal?
Blink
Our
our signals,
headlight.
our headlight, like and then okay, we'll go. But here, if you do that, you are signaling other drivers that there's a police car or policeman over there. Yeah,
The
Standby.
Warning, yeah.
Yeah.
on standby. And
Yeah.
then because in here, there's this rule that if you're in an intersection, so this is what I learned. Whoever gets first,
There's a four-way stop.
if it's a four-way stop, whoever gets first should go first.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the next one to go is on the right.
The one going
The
straight.
one going straight, and then the one going to the right.
Mhm.
So I actually haven't studied much.
But those are some things you have to remember because there's some things
Yes.
about winter and
Mhm.
ice and how to handle those things.
Yes, and we actually started buying some winter clothes because it's becoming chilly in here and we just can't stand it.
It's so cold. Yeah.
It's really cold. It's freezing cold. Like you will feel your hands. Oh, my
Freezing.
hands are freezing and
You
it's
call Christine.
getting numb. Yes. Christine is next.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tell about school that have the difference.
Oh yeah, so about school, I am actually handling special ed. I am a resource teacher, 7th through 9th graders, math and English. And so far it has been good, but then lately they have been pulling out students who are really struggling in math and English and put them in my class so that I can have really a direct instruction with them, one-on-one direct instruction with them, because it's what they really need. And you just can't pull a student out from their class if they have no IEP or 504 like that. So
Explain what IEP and 504. They don't, some of them won't know that.
IEP is individualized educational plan for students with special needs. So they have to be evaluated to get those things, and also they must have their parents' consent before they can be actually put in a special ed.
504.
And
504.
504
Need
is,
modification.
yeah, just some modifications like this kid don't mind the spelling. If he or she misspells something, don't give penalty. Let him use a calculator. So those are 504, just the modifications, like giving them like, okay, let's be lenient to them like that.
Because of their
Yes,
disability.
because of their disability.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am.
Yes, sir, Mike.
Sir Mike po.
Yes, sir, Mike.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, currently, I'm taking my master's in special education, right? And I just want to ask, ma'am, because we all know that in special education, students with learning difficulties and students with learning disabilities are different, right? So in that case, ma'am, in case po dyan, they are separated or
No, they're together. I am
inclusive.
actually handling both of them. Those kids with learning disabilities and learning with difficulties. That's why in my class, I really need to have a one-on-one direct instruction. So I have to go first with the one who gets it easily, if like, okay, this is how you do it, and then move to the other one. So I really have to move from one kid to another, individualized, because they have like 4 9th graders with me, and I am teaching math, algebra 1, and yeah, it's really hard for them. It's like, oh, can I have just 1 + 1 and like this? But you just can't. They just can't. That's why they are actually together in my class. Yes.
So meaning, ma'am, the inclusive education is different there.
Yes.
Mainstreaming.
It's mainstreaming. Actually, I only have my kids. I am a resource teacher. I only have them with me for English and math. Other subjects, they go to the regular classes. Yes. So only for English and math, they're with me.
Because those are the tested.
But you did not encounter some students with severe disabilities.
They are self-contained. They are placed in one room. Yeah. And they have a different teacher for that. So that's a difference between self-contained classroom and a resource teacher, because a resource teacher, kids who are struggling in a regular class and has IEP and 504 will be pulled out from the regular class and will be put in your place. And if they are going back on track, they can be put again into a regular class. And then, but for self-contained, they will just stay there for a whole period. I mean, for the whole day. Actually, they can be mainstream once a day, just one period a day. They would go to their some of the regular classes and just go back. But they are with a parapro. A parapro is with them. They will not be left alone there.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. But anyway, anyways, when I reach there, I will
Yes.
think
Yes.
if
When
I'm
you
going
get here,
to practice my master's there.
Yes, sir. When you get here, you will learn a lot of things like, oh, this is it. This is the real thing. Okay, so I'll give this time to Mom Christine.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Introduce yourself while
Come
you're
on,
teaching and so on. How old you are.
I'll prepare for our mama.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, good evening. Si Ma'am, hi Ma'am Saban. Yeah, nandito si Ma'am.
Okay.
Hi, how are you everyone? Good evening. I'm Christine Quezon. I'm teaching English Language Arts in Brinkley High School. For the information of everyone, I'm 5'1" and I'm teaching 10th to 12 graders in Brinkley. So with Maria. And one of the struggles that I really faced here when I arrived is that students, for this is for ano, for all, in all honesty, students are, you know, will blatantly tell you what they feel. Students will actually have no shame of telling,
Like, I don't want to do this.
yeah, like when you were teaching, when you are really preparing for that lesson, and then at the end of the day, when you introduce them the lesson and the activities, they would say, I cannot do this, I won't do this, what's the purpose of doing this, I don't care. So if you followed Sir Ratcliffe, he's also a teacher, a novice teacher here in the States. He used to make meme videos about gusto ko nang bumitaw, telling everybody, showing to everyone that this is what is really happening in the States. So before I arrived here, my goal really was to grow with my professional sense. And then I was not able to prepare myself with the reality. So I was like, oh, is this really happening? Is this for real? Like,
Shock, yeah.
yeah. The first day that I arrived here and teach in Brinkley, I have this one student, and she's a girl, a grade 12 student, and she doesn't want to be placed in front. But actually, she's a smart kid, and she just there's a miscommunication between us two. I told her to transfer to the front because when she's sitting at the back, she keeps on talking, so she's not focusing.
That's a punishment.
Yeah, so I wanted to change her seat in front, but then she did not want to transfer, and she said, I'm not doing this, who are you to tell me this? So I was like, that was the first day that I called Dr. Brenda Poole, our superintendent,
I happened to be there too.
yeah, and Miss Mom Merlina was there, and my principal was there, and then everyone was there, but she keeps on, talking back to the principal, to the superintendent. And then at the end of the day, our principal even called a policeman to come to my classroom to settle the situation. So that was my first day, and I already have that experience.
Baptism by fire.
And up to now, it has been my 3rd month here in Brinkley, and I am still struggling. But for us Filipino teachers, no, kay, this is really happening na ma-culture shock talaga tayo with the attitude. But rest assured that we are really well taken care of here in the States. Like, it's like an environment where everyone is looking for each other. Like, you will really find your home here, and although you're away from your real home, from your family, but at the end of the day, it's really nice that dito ko lang talaga, Tagalog. It is only here that I really found, like, for example, Ma'am Merlina, she's in the Philippines, we tend to look up to our supervisors, to our principals, but here our superintendents, our principal, they're the ones doing it for you. So like what they said, we really have to ask for help, tell them what's going on inside our classroom, tell them what's happening inside the classroom, because indeed we cannot make it on our own. So
I tell them about you, them supporting you with other staff.
yes, and I am teaching AP Lit and AP Lang here, so these are new subjects, new content areas for me. So
Advanced placement.
yeah, advanced placement for honor kids, for gifted kids. So they were they gave me a lot of resource person like Miss Phyllis, and we also have the AR AIMS training and seminars for new teachers, especially those handling the AP language and lit. And at the same time, we also have resource teachers like Ma'am Abby will always be inside our classroom helping us with the discipline of the kids.
How did I help you? Did you know if I helped you at all?
Yes, and precisely, Dr. Merlina, Ma'am Merlina is always, been there for us since then. Imagine March, I started emailing her March, and then look at me sitting here beside her. So I was like, oh, this is really a dream come true. And then at first na awkward pa ako sa kanya because I'm really not used to being close with this supervisor, superintendent back home. So diri kay manghugas siya yung mang-drive na ako. Siya natanan, murag siya nagtanan niya. It's really awkward for me because it's the first time, because I'm not used to that kind of treatment ba, especially from the heads.
Really?
Yes, in the Philippines you cannot do that, and that's one thing here in the States.
Servant leadership. Servant leadership.
Yeah,
very basic.
leaders. Yeah, leaders are really servants here. So I am praying and hoping to see everyone here, especially ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And have a good night, everyone.
Okay,
Back to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for sharing. On our drive here yesterday, I was driving and oh my God, this is like, imagine my car, Prius,
Yeah.
you know, supposed to fit like 5 people, 2 in the front and 3 in the back. There were 4 in the back, 2 in the front. So we fit 6 people. Good thing they're very skinny. So, and so Maria was driving. So Maria already got her license. So she was driving. I was navigating in front. So I was telling them, hey, on the Zoom tomorrow, you'll have to share. I think it's very powerful when they see you, you know, share your experiences. Luckily, I like Brinkley, where Maria is, and Maria and Christine are, they have asked me to come every week. So every week I come and see them. I observe and I would suggest things like, I would say, hey, you might want to change your arrangement of your chairs, because if you do it this way, then you are able to reach all the students. Like, parang semicircle na merong aisle in the middle. So you have your group of kids in two kind of rows, and then here on the other side. So that way it's easy for you to go. And if you have to do any presentation, they do any role playing, they can just present in the front, where there's a big space. And that's what I guess all of them now are doing that. I just suggested, they don't have to do it. I just usually put a suggestion. And so far I've been so blessed that they listen. I would say things like, you have to remember that when you move kids in the front, that is a punishment for them. And that's what she was saying about miscommunication, because that lady that was in trouble the first day she was in the classroom, she thought that Miss Christine was punishing her. She said, why are you punishing me? I didn't do anything. And then she was just bad mouthing, talking back, using bad language to the principal. I was just watching this. I was not involved. I was observing. And then the chief of police came. Every school, as I told you before, has a resource called SRO, School Resource Officer. So we have our own school. They have their own school resource officer, SRO, plus the chief of police came. So there were these two policemen, because when kids are being awful or horrible to teachers, they can be called. Like if somebody try to threaten you, even just with words, or try to look like they're going to hit you, you can call the cops on them. And that's why I told them, what I'm finding is our high school teachers, which all of them that are coming here with me are high school teachers, and they are afraid to discipline them because these kids are way taller. Yes. We are way taller than them, and they're so afraid of them. And I'm like, these kids know that you are intimidated by them, and they're going to be able to read it in your body language and in the words you say. They look like pale, like they're so afraid of them. And I'm like, no, whenever I was teaching, I've been in education for more than 30 years. I never have any issues. I don't care how tall they are. If I have to look up and discipline them like this, because you cannot let them think that you're afraid of them. And they're afraid that, oh, they know where we live and they're going to hurt us and all that. No, nope. They're just like students, like in the Philippines. They may look tougher, they may act tougher, but they're just kids after all. So don't be afraid to write them up. And see, a common misconception, I think, with teachers is that if you ask for help is a weakness. A common thing is like, oh, maybe the principal would think that I'm not doing my good job because I'm asking for help. In here, it's actually encouraged. When I was a principal, I would always tell the teachers, hey, don't send a student over here or send me a text or whatever. If you need my help, I'll be right there. And so like in Brinkley, for example, in Maria's year 1, this is her year 2. So she was able to get some help. Like, for example, that some of the teachers that may be like have a break, they would be asked to go and help her in some of the periods. Like you always have 1 or 2 groups of students that are so horrible. Like I think Christine has a really bad one. It's so bad that she was like threatening to go home, to stop, to just like quit, because they were so horrible. And it's not her, it's not Christine, it's because this group is so horrible that everywhere they went, the teachers are suffering, so I talked to the superintendent and I said, we need to do something about this. Luckily I've lunch with the female superintendent. I have lunch with Brenda every Dr. Poole every week. So I would always problem solve with her. And I said, one of the things that maybe you can do is, during that class, she needs to have somebody else there. Like they have used coaches, like when the coach is, has a vacant time, he would go there, or some of the, the minor teachers, and they even hired a substitute. That the substitute will go, either her class or the other Filipino teachers' classes because they're so new. And then they would stay there and they would help with the discipline part. And the school is paying them to do that because I told her and I said, you could lose these teachers. They could either move or go home. Would either move to another school, another state, or go home. And I don't want them to do that because I know that is part of the adjustment. The school, your culture shock lasts usually about 3 or 4 months. Like by the time January comes, you will feel a little better. And that's what I noticed with Maria. Maria now is tougher. Like on year 2, I remembered from year 1, feeling like Christine is feeling. And then now year 2, you come to Maria's and she would say, okay, you want me to call your parents? Come and call your parents right now. They have a phone in the classroom. And so like she had a student this week when I was observing her, the student just slept in the back. So she said, okay, I want you to come here and call your mother and explain why you're sleeping. So the student had to like call and told the mother. And so there, she is tougher like that. She would never have done that the first year. And so one day, I think one of the students told me in Shireen's class, another Filipino class, and she said that she was going to ask a student to like, oh, you want to call your parent? She was getting an idea from Maria. And she said, you're acting like Miss Incorporado. You're acting like Miss Maria. Because she's being known for that now, that she's not afraid to have the students call their parents right there. And some of the parents get so mad that they will come to the school and actually discipline this kid, like take them outside and talk to them and meanly and all that. And, from my experience, some of the parents are so strict that they would even say things like, I'm going to go over there and spank them myself. And I'm like, well, you can't really do that. But, you need to talk to them when you get here, but you're welcome to come and talk to them. But I don't want you spanking them and hitting them in the school. You do whatever at home, but you're not doing that here. We take care of it. But I saw this week, I saw a father sitting outside on a bench talking to his son. And I think the other teacher was calling him, and he came over and was telling, I overheard what he said. He said, son, if you're going to be successful in life, you're going to have to do better than this. You cannot be showing your butt. He says, this is his quote. You were showing your butt around and not listen to your teacher, because this is not how you're going to become an engineer. You want to be an engineer, this is not how you're going to do this, So anyway, so I thought that was really good that the parent, took his time. Obviously he was working because he still has his, his shirt was a working shirt. So he took the time, and that's what they do, take the time to go to the school and really help the students. And so anyway, so I was happy to see that. And I can tell that the student was like, was so feeling embarrassed. And so, and some of the things that I was also sharing with them is like, don't put up with students saying, oh, do I have to do this? When is lunch? I was like, they're complaining and whining, so I said, Maria, you do not take that. Make sure that if you hear that, you need to stop and address it and say something like, hey, you know what? You are now in 9th grade. In 3 more years, you're graduating, and you could, some of you I know are going to college. Some of you are not going to college. You're just going to go to work, because that's what they do here. Like about half go to college, and about half will just go work. What do you think your boss will do if you complain? In any job that I give you, you're complaining and whining, do you think that you're going to keep your job, or do you think you're going to lose your job? School is like a practice place. You are learning all these life skills that you're going to apply after school. So if you're doing this is the work ethics that you have, how successful do you think you will be? Kind of talk to them about that and attach it to what happens in the future. Why is it the so what part? Why is it important that you work hard? Why is it important that you follow directions? Because these are things that you have to do when you work. In order to make your money, you're going to have to, you have to listen to somebody. And that's a problem here is they're so blatant, and they're so like somebody said, they're so frank, and they will tell you what they think. But I always told my students, I really don't mind, including my own kids, Jet and Stephanie. I said, I really don't mind you telling me exactly how you feel. I want you to do that, but just do it in a very respectful way. I want you to do it in a very respectful manner. Mom, and use an I statement. Mom, I feel this way. When you do this, Mom, I really feel hurt because I feel like, use the word I statement. Don't say, Mom, you are this, you are mean, you are, no, you don't, that never works. The you statement never works. The I statement works, or asking a question works. Those are two things. I statement and asking a question are two things that would work instead of being mean and being disrespectful. And I see a lot of disrespectfulness. And a lot of time it's not because they're poor. It's not because they're Black, for example, or they're Latino, Latinx, or whatever culture you say. It's not. You can it's because of poverty. Poverty at home, we're poor, but in the Philippines, our culture is saying that I don't care how poor you are, you're going to respect, because that is part of our culture. Here, it's like survival of the fittest. They might be so busy working and providing for their family. The poor are really poor, that they do not have time to discipline their children. And a lot of times in this culture in America, where they actually would give more money to people that are single moms, single dad, single mom, very common. They would have children from different fathers, and the government would help. For every child, they might get $400, $500 a month per child. So you have women that have 4 or 5 kids times 500 or 400, and that's a good income every month. And so they have that, but then they are so busy taking care of these kids that they don't really have time to discipline, or they don't know any better. And so, hopefully when you know better, you do better. But if if it's a cycle of that going on and they never did learn, and that's going to continue. And you have kids that are coming to school very rude and that do not know how to act, because that's what their parents were doing when they were also younger. So to me, as Filipinos and us sharing our culture, is an inter-exchange of culture. You're learning from them, they learn from you. And I think one of the things that I encourage our teachers here is that teach them about respect. One of the standards that they have to meet, because when I observe them, I have this whole standards. There are 4 different domains, from their the actual teaching, from their school environment, the classroom environment, to their professional contribution, which is their extracurricular and so on. And one of the standards they have to meet is the creating a culture of respect and rapport with students. And so I look at how the teacher is smiling, or having this good relationship with students, and there's respect to the students, saying thank you, saying please. And at the beginning of the year, I noticed that Filipinos, we tend not to with our students, because we tend to be bossy, oh, do this, do that, whatever. No, I said, you need to say please, because this is the culture that kind of, I guess, if it's not used, then it's being rude. And you are modeling really bad behavior if you don't say please. And when they say something, they do something, you say thank you. So I was actually putting these statements in my or my feedback, the beginning of the year. I said, don't forget to say thank you and please, because you're modeling this behavior to the students about establishing your respectful environment. And that's what they're so good at that now. And another thing that I remembered having to tell them is that you need to validate students. The word validation is one of the most important words that you have to remember or teach, because for example, if somebody does well, you need to say, hey, let's give them a round of applause, or let's give a thumbs up to so-and-so, to Mike for doing this, or to Giselle for doing this. So validate them in whatever little ways that you do. You need to do that validation, because that's creating a very positive culture in your classroom. And that's another standard you have to meet, is that establishing that culture of learning in your classroom, which means you are being a cheerleader. Your classmates are being cheerleaders. So if they do something right, you have to acknowledge them. And that goes a long, long way to have a very encouraging classroom. You could hear students, when you have that kind of climate in your classroom. You have students saying, hey, good job, so-and-so. They do that themselves. When I'm watching and I see that, that means I can tell the teacher has modeled that. And so that the praise goes to the teacher. I'd always notice that, and I would mark it there. They're like, hey, great job of establishing, a very positive culture here. I noticed that so-and-so was clapping. I noticed that so-and-so said, hey, good job, so-and-so. I would put a quote on this on my observation, because these are things that should be happening in the classroom if they are very positive to each other. On the other hand, if they say, shut up, or they would say rude things to each other, I would also note that you may want to watch. If you hear, you have to always have your ears on. That you have to listen to what's going on in the classroom, because when somebody says shut up, I would say, hey, does that sound like very respectful? A better way is to maybe be quiet. Do not say shut up. That's really rude to do that. So you, at the same time, as a teacher, you should never use that either. You say, hey guys, you need to lower down. Let's use our inner voice. Let's use our inside voice. Inside voices. When we're working in a group, I want you to whisper. I want you to use your inner voices, your inside voices, because you have to respect what the other groups are also doing. They cannot hear themselves if we are so loud in our group. So that's why I think I mentioned it before, that I used to tell my students, I would whisper and say, you have to be quiet, because if you don't, we are American spies, and the Russian spies are next door, and they're listening to your ideas, and they're gonna steal your ideas. And so here they are whispering their ideas, because they're afraid that somebody else would steal it. And so anyway, but sometimes, and I know this with the new international teachers here, and the Filipino teachers, they struggle with that, like really loud. One of our teachers here that observed, she said, I really struggle about getting them to be quieter, because you can hear, like even if the door is closed, you can hear that it was her classroom. And they are happy noises. They are like noises of being busy. They're academic noise, which is awesome. But you just have to try to respect the other teachers next door who are also listening to this. So you need to have them to hey, let's lower down. I know of some teachers that actually bought this working as a freestanding working stoplight with a red and green and yellow, and you turn it on, you plug it in, and then when it's really noisy, it turns red. And then how many times it turns red, that's how much punishment they have. They might end up eating in the classroom for lunch instead of going with their friends. They might end up those that are causing it might have to come back and go to lunch detention. That's when they have to go to a special room where they have to take their lunch, and no, they cannot talk at all. They don't like that. And so anyway, and some schools I have visited also, they have this huge one like that, equivalent to that, where in the whole cafeteria cannot be too noisy, because otherwise it's going to turn it on first at yellow to warn them, hey, the noise is getting so loud, and then it turns red. Then they have to stay extra 5 minutes or something before they go to recess, so they lose their 5-minute recess or something. Some schools are different, but in your classroom, when they're working on small groups work, they cannot produce good outcomes if they are so noisy, because they can hear. A lot of times you would say, hey, we can't even hear in our group because they're so loud over there. And so I have one school here, one of these ladies' school here, that who's a superintendent is always watching them in the camera. That they're always like, how does he know that what's, for example, if there's some noise there, he would always send somebody to hey, tell this teacher that it's noisy, because he's watching them and it's very rare, because a lot of times superintendents are so busy and they don't really have time. I know Maria's a superintendent. I just had lunch with her, and she said, Merlina, I don't have time to be watching this camera unless needed. Like if there's a discipline issue or a complaint or whatever, then I look at the camera to double check what really happened. But otherwise, I do not watch those cameras. But there are obviously some administrators, especially in schools, where all the cameras are everywhere, and that they watch those. I used to watch those as an assistant principal in order for me to do the discipline thing. But anyway, so just kind of remember that a bunch of the schools here now, especially with the safety, with all those school shooting, that are now putting cameras everywhere. You look up and there's cameras, and they're 360 degrees, so they can see the whole thing, the whole classroom. So if it's the hallway, they could see the whole hallway, and so on. So I guess you have to just pretend like there's a camera watching you. So always do the right thing, because you pretend like, oh, there's somebody watching me. and it's on record. I think they keep the recording for the whole year. So they can always go back to whatever day. For example, there are some parents here that like to sue the school or the teachers because they really like to get money or whatever, because a lot of time they would settle. They don't go to court, but they would settle and give them a lot of money. And so some parents are doing that, are suing. So that's a protection for you, for teachers as well, because that's their biggest evidence. So if a child will be making up something about you, then the superintendent or principal can go and look at the recording and see if that's true or not. Oh, the teacher did this, whatever. And you can just look back and say, oh, okay, that's true, or that did not happen, or that happened. Okay, let me do a 10-2 strategy here. Pause. Anything you learned from that? What's different? What's different? What's a takeaway for you that kind of surprised you or validate your thinking or anything new for you? Somebody, Dini, you want to share? What did you learn so far? From what I said or from what the teacher said? Good evening. Yeah. From what the teacher said, what did you learn? One thing, one nugget you learned.
What I learned is from Christina.
Christine, yeah, Christine.
Christine, yeah. Like, yeah, when on her first day, like she told the student to move a seat because she was talking with somebody else, and then the student, like, I don't know if you can hear the noise here.
That's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
She reacted violently, really, is what she did.
Yeah, she reacted violently. So, and then the police came. That is really, for me, it's like, what is that? Like, it's a new thing. Like, there's a police officer right away to come in the classroom. But actually, it's really a protection for, right? A protection since. Yeah, that's a very good thing, and it's like an assurance also for teacher safety in the school. Yeah, but then how hard a student is when the student will not obey the superintendent. You're right. So they're really that strong when they reason out. They stand for their mind, something like that, because the officer has to come. So that is really surprising. Right.
That's when they start talking back to the principal and superintendent, that's why the superintendent thought that's not acceptable, because student is doing this in front of her classmates. So here's the classmates are looking, what's the administrator's going to do? What's this teacher going to do? And so that was an extreme thing that they did, because it was an extreme thing that the student did. You cannot have a student badmouth you and talking back at you and just like, really whatever you say, you would say one thing and they already said 5 things, really back, really disrespectfully. You can't have that, because if you let them get away with it, they're gonna go tourist attraction. You see the garage thing? Garage, yeah. Anyway, so I told Maria to go ahead and take them to some tourist things while I'm doing Zoom. So anyway, if they have to do an extreme reaction for an extreme thing that a student did, and the student, I think, got either expelled for 3 days or something. It's really, really a big thing happened. And if it's so bad, like if they resort to violence, they could be expelled. That means that they cannot come back to the school for the rest of the year. And so that is a big problem, because then the parent had to drive them to another school, which could be another 30 minutes, 45 minutes away, or an hour away. So they can no longer ride the bus, because the bus usually are local. So if they move to another school, then the parents have to drive them. So it's a lot of work for the parents. That's why they, by the time they get the three-day suspension, the parents are really making sure they don't get any more trouble, because they could get expelled. And expulsion goes on the record, and a bunch of the schools, when you come back to another school, they look at that and they see an expulsion record. That's not a good thing for your student. So it happens. And you have to remember that this is the poorest part of Arkansas. The Delta is the poorest part of Arkansas. And so you have a very huge amount of poverty. It's almost like seeing the Philippines. When you look at some of the places here, it looks like almost like the Philippines, like some of the, some dirt, some garbage, some all this stuff, dilapidated houses and abandoned houses and so on. You see that, it's like, oh my gosh, you're like a different country. It's like going to Mexico or going to a third world country here. But then when you come to my side of the state, where, that it's not very, a lot of above average or medium, then you see the difference, really manicured lawn, really pretty, the houses, although small, some of them are very clean and very well kept and so on, that it's really the difference. Maria, the first time she visited around here, she said, my God, it's like a different country. It's like a different part of the state, and it's really different because of the way that I guess people and students really behave too. It's like a night and day. When the first time that I saw that I actually taught and saw how students react and do in a school with high poverty and minority here, it's like, I cannot believe that this is going on. Because in Salem, when I did my 15 years of teaching, that never happened. And I was in shock. So can you imagine, I was in shock in the same country, in the same state. And, you are coming here from a different country. Where in the Philippines, the culture is the kids are always so good and well behaved. Not here. Don't expect them to just be like, being quiet, because they're going to open their mouth. They're going to question you. So that's why I suggested to them, whenever you do a lesson, when you do your objectives, hey, today we're going to learn this. And you know what? This is important because you can use this when you always say that part, because if you don't, they're going to ask that. So why am I learning this? Why is this important? I don't need this. They would say this, you would hear this a lot. So that's why I told them, go ahead and cover that. The first part of your lesson. Remember yesterday we were learning about the periodic elements, table periodic. Why do you think this is important? Remember, I told you this, and they will say, oh, because you're going to need this. For example, I want to be a, chemist someday, and I'm going to need to use, know this and knowing, the elements, what do you call it? The value, I don't remember, science teachers. What do you call those numbers?
Atomic number.
You might want to know those, different elements. And, also even in the field, if you're you're going to become a doctor in any health field, you're going to be learning those things. So this is really important to you. And some of them would say, oh, I'm going to be, I'm going to be a mechanic someday. I don't need to learn this. For example, they tell that to an English teacher, and I would say, hey, when you're reading a manual in order to fix a car or whatever vehicle you're working on, you're going to need to read. And all those are usually written in the 8th grade education. The level of word learning that you have to know is about 8th grade level, which is really harder words. So you have to pay attention to this because you need it for comprehension. You need to comprehend, you need to understand what you're reading in order for you to know for your job. In most jobs, you'll be reading something for that job. Even your janitors have rules that they have to read in order to know how to, how to clean or what are the things to do in every classroom. You have to read everything that, whatever job you want to do, you will be reading something, so that's why it's important that you pay attention to this, so to establish that so what part, I think is a really important thing, because your brain is also saying that, hey, you have to remember this. Because your brain needs to know the reason why you have to keep that in the long-term retention. And if you never establish that, it will delete it, because it will temporarily store it in the short-term retention to be deleted, to be replaced by another thing, because you never established that, hey, put this in the long term. So important to do the so what part. Okay, anybody else? Any takeaways? Sinanda, thank you for coming back. What you have a takeaway from that?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's good to be back here, because last Friday we had the Deped night, and then we participated in the Deped night. And my takeaways for tonight's session, for the sharing of our J1 teachers already in the US, and I am so happy hearing about how they adjust and with reality in teaching in the US. And this is also a good resource for us, because it gives us a clear picture on how to really see ourselves when opportunities will come in. And I really like about how they cope and how they shared to adjust their life there. And it's also the sharing about the misbehavior of the students because based also on my my inquiry about how students behave in the US. It's similar to what has been shared tonight. And what I did in my classroom right now is I practice the classroom management. And when I heard about how they practice in the US, I applied here in my classroom, especially about how to acknowledge, how to praise students whenever there are behaviors that is really commendable, and how also to really check and correct students' misbehavior inside the class in a manner that it will not it will in a manner that will improve them and keep on participating in the class. And like when I say that, when I give instructions that, yeah, you have to answer this in 1 minute, and other students are really talking to their seatmates. So I did not get angry about that. So I made strategy on how to really keep them in tasks. So what I did is, wow, I see someone who is writing right now, and others also are following. Yeah. So I believe others also will following right now.
Very
So
good.
in our usual practice in the Philippines, we will get angry if students are not following instruction.
Right.
So I learned about that when I listened to also to stories of teachers teaching in the US, and I see how students really like the way teachers handle that misbehavior.
Yeah.
And
it's called positive reinforcement. It's called positive reinforcement.
And then I also integrate about brain-based strategy, especially when students are experiencing new words of the lesson, like epicenter. We talk about epicenter, that's a big word and that's a new word to them. So using the brain-based strategy, so you have to reinforce students to restate again in 3 times. 3 times epicenter, epicenter, epicenter. So that would really make the brain function and familiarize the words. And students like that. And then when I say class, they would say yes, class, class. They would say yes, yes.
I love that. Yeah.
And then that would really engage all
You're doing
students.
a lot of things already. That's good. Yeah. And on top of just saying it 3 times, you also need to say the meaning of it. Epicenter did this, epicenter did this, because if you just say it, that doesn't mean anything. So you'll have to define it. It has to be definition in their own ways. Never, never, never have kids copy definition from any book or dictionary or anything. That's the poorest strategy you could ever use. Very ineffective. So saying it where they have internalized it because they're able to say it in their own way, in their own words, that's very powerful. I like that you do that already. I like that you already validate, by having, and also the calling them the attention by saying class, class. Those are things you should use. And the way that you are telling, oh, look at this. I love that. Look at that row 1. Everybody's already working. And I would say things like, do you know that so-and-so is already in step 2? My goodness, I want to challenge everybody to be in that. So far, this is my champion number 1. I would just say things like that. It doesn't matter what grade I'm teaching. I'm going over there around the room and I'm just like bragging on people. Like, oh my goodness, we have 10 things and so-and-so is already on number 6. Let me see if you can challenge everybody to be in that, whatever. Okay. Or I would say, girls, let's see 5 boys already done with whatever. Girls, I want to challenge you to do this. I would say things like that, but it's very positive. Notice that I did not, instead of having somebody get in trouble for being behind or not working, you're actually bragging on somebody that's there and then encouraging people to be there instead of the negative way, because it could be a negative teacher would also do a negative thing. Like, class, why are you not doing that? I told you to do this, whatever, that's a whining teacher. And anytime you whine, it doesn't, I joke between my sister and I, were like, does that wine come with strawberry? does it come, the wine like W-I-N-E, but instead of W-H-I-N-E. But anyway, so yeah. does grape come with that wine? Yeah. Anyway, but students, you can say that, but yeah, you don't whine as a teacher. They call them using your adult voice. So if you're using adult voice, that you are an adult and you are modeling adult behavior instead of a whining childish behavior, or a parent, they call it a parent authoritative voice. You don't use that, because a lot of times students would actually rebel against that kind of tone. Like a parent would really strictly doing it. They do not respond. American children, I noticed, do not respond well to that. They would actually rebel. They're going to try to show you that they will, they will talk back at you, and they will show their friends that I can take this teacher on. Don't ever have that kind of confrontation. If you see a student that's kind of trying to do that, you need to, make sure the class is busy, and take that student outside, just right outside your classroom, and talk to them. This is not appropriate. You do not need to do this. And I always often say to the student, do you know that I considered you as one of our leaders in the classroom? And if you want to be, do you consider yourself as a leader? Yes, ma'am. And I said, well, how does a leader work? How does a leader behave? Is it the way that you would want to model it to your classmates? This kind of behavior where you're talking back at me, you're being rude to me, you're being disrespectful to me. Is this something that you want to model? Is this something you want everybody to do? No, ma'am. And I'm like, well, I want you to be a good leader this time. Okay, I'm watching you. And then some of the students, I would even say, when I do this, or when I do this, like as if it's just natural, but I'm really telling you, this is like a silent communication with you. So sometimes I do a lot of my earrings, for example. So when I touch my right earrings or my right ear, nobody knows this meaning but you. I'm actually talking to you. Okay, I'm actually telling you that you're being a good leader, something like that. And I have done that in so many years. I've done that with a special kid that just out of control kid, and they think that's so special. That this teacher had a special communication code to them. And one year, I have a kid that I have to do the right ear, and I have another kid I have to do the left ear, and then another kid that I have to touch my chin. I have 3 that year. And so anyway, so it was a challenge for me to remember, okay, which one was this kid? But it worked for me, because at the end of the day, when people are working on their journal, then I would start talking to them. I say, oh my gosh, did you see me communicate with you 3 times today? I'm so proud of you, all this stuff. So I would brag on them like that, very positive. You're forming the rapport, the relationship with them, and they really want to thrive. I mean, I make them the leader. I make them do jobs. I said, you know what? I'm making you the leader today, because yesterday, my goodness, you really showed a lot of leadership. So today you're going to be my assistant today. I want your classmates to see that you are really a good leader, and you're going to assist me today. And then the next day I would ask the other one, and the other one, and they want to be a leader. Oh my gosh. Because then if they don't, I'm like, sorry, you can't be a leader for the next day or two, because you're not showing me a behavior that a good leader should be followed with. So we're going to have to fix that. I have to talk to you 3 times or whatever before you can be a leader again. I would, use it in a positive way, but just kind of pull all kinds of tricks. I just came up with that, or I read that somewhere. I don't remember where I stole it, but it worked. And I think in the past, those who would always attend this one, I actually had this thing with remember what I said something about my student where she would just throw this biggest fit, she would scream, and she would just scream, or the whole building she would lay down on the floor. This was a fourth grader, but this kid had been through so much. She was abused sexually, physically, all this, got taken away from home. Both parents were in jail and so on. And this kid was just being in a big mess, have been in foster homes many times, and there's no telling what abuse she had endured. So this kid had a rough time, even at 9 years old. So she would throw a fit. You could hear her screaming. So finally I said, she's so pretty, but when she does that, she's so ugly looking. So I got this special mirror, and I said, I've got it from a yard sale, I think, and really pretty, really well decorated mirror. And I told her, okay, so this is a special mirror that my grandma gave me, this antique mirror. This is very special to me. So this is what I want you to do. Every time you get so mad that you're about to throw a fit, screaming or whatever, I want you to pick up the mirror, and I want you to look at your face. Okay, I want you to remember what your face looks like when you do this. And she realized later, she said, I look so ugly when I'm mad. And I'm like, well, I want you to borrow that mirror until you can control yourself, where you don't need my mirror anymore, and you can imagine what it looks like in a mirror, as if you're holding my mirror, my special mirror. I said, don't even think about throwing my mirror away. You can replace that. That mirror is so irreplaceable that I want you to handle it with care. You're the only one that I'm lending that mirror to. So you're very special to me for lending you that. But you know what? She told me later, she quit doing it. The rest of the year, she quit doing it. She said, I don't like that ugly face. I said, I know you're so pretty. Look at your face right now. It's so pretty. You see how pretty you are? But then when you're so ugly, whenever you're having the mirror, she said, yeah, I don't like that. And I said, well, there you go. That's what we're seeing. And so anyway, so that was at the end of the year. She actually, you know, I have them to reflect about their whole year. She actually reflected that was the best thing that she learned that year, is that you know, that how ugly I am when I'm mad. I don't need to do this anymore because I don't want people to see that face. You know, so anyway, that was like, oh my God, I just wanted to cry when I read her reflection, that that's something that she really learned, that I didn't know people saw that kind of face, you know. And so this kid, oh my gosh, she's a nurse now. So, so she became really successful because I knew she was smart. She just cannot control her anger. And then on top of that, I also have her to come to the counselor, you know, like on times when I know she's really good at it already. So for example, if we're doing 10 things, I will have her to do 2 things. And I'm like, okay, you can do 2 things for me to show me you know it. After that, you can talk to the counselor. Just kind of have a visit with her, you know, and then they would like just kind of have that extra support, that extra person that she can, like an advocate for her. And so she was like wanting to do good on whatever we were doing, because she knew that whenever I found that she already knew that concept, I can always send her to Miss Elkins to talk to her and just visit. Tell her whatever you think, because she's a counselor. Her job is to listen to you. And if you need advice, she will know how to do that for you. But you earn that. When you want to do that, you have to earn it by doing a good job and showing me that you know the things already. That way I can have her visit. And of course, I talked to the counselor ahead of time that I'm going to make this reward for her because she really needs your help, that she will earn that. I will make sure that she's not behind on anything. But once I know that she got the stuff, I could have her to visit you 2 or 3 times a day. And so she was getting 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and so on, because the office was already 2 doors down from me, so it's very quick. And usually I just ask the student to like, hey, come go get so-and-so to come back because we're getting ready to do another thing, whatever. But you know what? That year was so successful for her. In fact, the foster mother was saying, you know, Miss Merlina, so-and-so really had a good year. This is like a different child, the beginning of the year and the end of the year. This child has really grown this year. You know, she doesn't throw a fit at home anymore. She doesn't scream and holler and all this, you know, I call them holler, is to scream, to shout anymore. Her anger she seems to be able to have some coping mechanisms, because the counselor had showed her how to do things like, you know, put your in the mirror and in the pillow and just scream, but when you put the pillow and scream on the pillow, or you go outside and don't scream with the top of your lungs, you know, or count to 10. Take a deep breath and count to 10 mentally, and it will calm you down, you know, whatever. Drink some water, you know. And so anyway, and or think of happy thoughts. You know, what are the best thoughts that you remember? The happiest thing, my birthday, and I'm like, I want you to remember that, you know, because that will calm you down and get you to that happy place instead of a sad or angry place. You know, so you will have students like that. And in Helena, Brinkley, you know, all this school that they're representing 3 schools, Barton, they have kids like that. With Leslie, her school is mostly white, and her challenges are different than the others who are mostly a minority, you know, mostly Black or some Latinx, very different challenges. But everybody's got challenges. That's why I told, you know, one of them that wanted to quit, and I said, you have to remember, it follows you. It doesn't matter what state or what district you go to, you're going to have kids like that, because that's just the nature of the beast here. That's the level of kids you're teaching. That's the development stage that they go through. So you're going to have students like that. It might not be as many, but you'll always get, you're not going to be able to avoid it. If you're going to be in education and you're going to be in that level, you're not going to be able to avoid it at all. So you may as well deal with what's here. And I said, well, I could never force you to stay here. You have the freedom, of course, to go wherever you want, but I just want you to know that it's not going to be greener on the other side. Because for one thing, you're not going to be able to find a superintendent as good as your superintendent. Your superintendent is the same as Maria, you know, for example, and, you know, got an apartment, paid for it herself, you know, the first month, I think, and then paid for the utilities and so on, and got groceries and bed and all these things for her, and or their own money, not even the school's money, because that's not a fund that the school has, but it's her personal money. So you cannot find that anywhere. I know I've helped so many schools. I have never found a superintendent that would do that for anyone. You know, just shedding her own hundreds of dollars to help every teacher that comes. She has 4 teachers. She has done that to all 4 of them. And so anyway, so I said, don't expect that you will have that. Don't expect that you have somebody like me that she had hired to come every week to help you. And actually, I observe in the classroom a whole period. I actually look at the whole standards that the principal would use to evaluate them. I actually do the whole thing. I would put comment glows and grows, and I would suggest on specific ways that they need to do things. And then at the next week, I'd be debrief with them before I leave. I will either debrief with them individually or the whole group, all 4 of them would debrief. I would talk to them about, hey, you need to work on this. You do an awesome job on this. And hey, so and so. That way they learn from each other. And I asked permission, of course. I said, okay, if we debrief together, that way each of you would learn from each other. Sometimes we'd go to a restaurant and I would buy them dinner or whatever. Like, hey, let's go out to a Mexican restaurant and we'll talk while we're eating or waiting for food. And we've done that. And but anyway, you can find many schools that are actually helping. I mean, I charge. I'm going to be frank to you. I charge not cheap. I charge $1,000 a day. That's what I charge. And so for a school to pay me that, plus they pay for my gas. So some schools are paying me $1,200 in one day for me to come and stay in their school a whole day. So I'm not cheap. So for someone to do that and spend that much money, you're lucky, you're blessed. But you're not gonna feel that blessed when you go to any other places. So anyway, but of course I will never stop helping them. They could also still move and reach out to me, but it's not gonna be the same as somebody actually going there, observing them and actually teach in front of them if needed. I do some, actually some actual teaching and them watching me. I do that too, but especially literacy. I think math, I have to actually review some of those things that you have to do in math. I was good in math, but it's been 40 years ago. So, but literacy, I can do it all day long. I would watch, I have taught in Maria's class many times. And so anyway, so that's just the lesson that you learn, that you do the support, the support of the others are available, from your co-teachers in the hallway or from your principal, and your coaches are so helpful, guys. When you have students in your classroom that are athletes, what I'm finding was when I was teaching high school, my athletes were the most, they show out. They want to show out to the girls, for example, the male athletes want to show out to the girls. Oh, I'm so tough like that. And they are just wanting to like talk back at the teacher to show that I'm tougher than the teacher type thing. And so what I do was I'd ask her, I'd write their names down and I would email the coach, or I would talk to the coach in person. And I would say, so-and-so, Logan was really showing out in my classroom today in literacy. And this is what he did and so on. And so what the coach does? They will give them an extra thing that they have to do that they don't like in order to pay for what you did in Miss McCullough's classroom. And they actually would tell them that Miss McCullough said that, but then in this part of the state where Maria and them are doing, they will be called a snitch. Oh, my teacher is a snitch. I don't care if I'm a snitch, but I'm trying to help you. Because if they get in trouble where they get written up and have this write-up, they call them a write-up, a form that they have to turn into the office of the principal, they cannot play that night. Like Friday night is a time when the high school would play and they look forward to it all day. They're already wearing their uniform that Friday because they go straight from that. They go the bus after school and they go to their game. They cannot, one of the kids yesterday was told by the principal, don't even think about going to the bus because you are not playing tonight. I'm going to tell your coach, you are not playing tonight. You need to go straight home. And this kid was like, I think it was in Christine's classroom or something. He used the F word. And so anyway, so unluckily for him, the principal happened to be by the door when he was turning back to the door. He was about to close the door. And before he closed the door, he turned around to one of his classmates and say, F you, whatever. And the principal happened to be there. And so the principal said, you're writing him up, right? And Miss Christine said, oh yeah, I'm doing that right now. So she was already getting her paper. And this little write-up form, has the reason, the dates and so on, and then the signature of the teacher. And then this is, that's actually step 3, because normally step 1 is a verbal warning. So I tell them to put their names on the board. They know that's a warning. And then after that, that's calling the parents. That's step 2, they put a check mark by it. So you know that if there's a check mark, you are calling that parent that day. talking to them about what's going on or whatever. And if they put a 2-second check mark, that's a write-up. So you get this form from the office and you write up, and they are being sent to the principal's office. And if it's already at the end of the period, they'll be called from their next period and say, come over, whatever. So the principal is going to look at how many offenses this child has done for that week or whatever. And then it's either going to be lunch detention or an ALE, alternative learning environment, where they have to go to a special class that all these students are doing that, and they have the meanest teacher in your class, in your school, need to be in there. And then they have ISS, in school suspension. So that's when they cannot talk. It's like a prison in school. They cannot talk. They're like, they're very limited in what they can do, but all they can do is do their work. They don't want to be in ISS at all. And then they have Saturday school. They do Saturday school in some cases. And anyway, there's so many things that they use before. And if a parent would say, for example, no spanking, there is the part there, there's also one of the choice is corporal punishment. And then they have to be gone 3 days. They have to be, that's the choice, either spanking or 3-day suspension. Well, most parents don't want 3-day suspension because, especially if a child is below the age where they can stay at home, below 14. So they have to be, somebody has to be home to watch them. And if they don't have relatives to leave them with, they have to pay a babysitter. They don't want that. So they would say, yeah, spank that kid, spank my kid, or you want me to go over there and spank them? So they would do that. But at the beginning of the year, they had to sign a piece of paper saying, I allow corporal punishment. But as a administrator, you have to always call. But as a Filipino educator, I will never spank or hit the child. I just don't. And I told him that I don't want to, because you could lose your license if you get sued. And then if you lose, you have to sign as a sex offender, where you can no longer be around children and so on. And you're like pretty much a pariah. So I'm not going to go there. It's not, you work too hard for your education degree to have to just lose it, right? Okay, next. Thank you so much for sharing, Idini and Sinando. Anything, Dr. Elvin? I saw your reaction, some of the reactions that you have. Do you have anything that you have a takeaway you want to share?
Yes, I took notes. It starts with Mom Leslie. So she was teaching science and math earlier, and then transferred to SPED, and then she told us that students in the US is different. I mean, the program is far different from the Philippines. I mean, there's
special ed funding.
Unlike here in the Philippines, this year there's no budget for SPED. They are fighting for that budget.
Whoa.
They're still preparing for a budget for that. So it was announced by the Secretary of Education. At the same time, she's the Vice President of our country.
Wow.
So hope there will be special budget for special education. And then she said, Mom Leslie said it takes a community or village to rear a child or
teach a child.
Yes. Then Mom Maria, almost a year in the US. And then she said that we need to grow professionally, or we will really grow professionally here, there, because I'm still here and you are there. Being able to build rapport with students. And then it is very important to reach out to people. Don't be shy to ask for help. Do not hesitate to ask for help, even your supervisor or principal. Find ways to look for help. And then about Abby, one thing I learned from Ma'am Abby is that if you want to bring your family with you in the US, you need to process everything together, process the papers with you. So that's a nice thing to learn about, because your family will not be having problem during
Interview. Yeah.
the processing, because you just need to set you just need to wait for a couple of months to be ready for the finances.
You have
And
6
then,
months. You have 6 months to wait. You can wait. I don't. I think if that's true, that you have up to 6 months, and so by the time you get your first or second paycheck, you're able to afford a ticket.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the traffic rules, they're far different in the US and in the Philippines. In the Philippines, not so strict.
Yeah. You can even bribe people. You can get your license. Not here. You have
Yes.
to take 2 tests.
Here in our city, in Zamboanga City, the policeman together with the traffic enforcer, the policeman and some military men would carry a high-powered rifle with their sidearms and everything, but still the people here will not be they are not afraid of the law enforcers.
I was afraid.
Because they have the same rifle at home, probably.
Yeah.
Here in our city, in Zamboanga City.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
Yes.
afraid not because of what they'll do to me, but it's because of the money they're going to charge me. $288, close to $300. That's
Yes.
15,000 pesos that you're just flushing down the toilet. That's why I did.
Traffic
I
rules.
was really nice.
Too strict. And then Sir Mike, student with learning difficulties and disabilities, he asked about it, and then Ma'am Abby answered, they can be placed in the same class.
Yep, the LD and MR.
Students with learning disabilities and students with
Severe. The
difficulties.
Yeah, severe. Yeah.
So it's quite lengthy actually to share, because I have written almost everything you said.
Well, good for you. Good for you. I'm proud of you. Yeah. So that's why, I wanted them to talk, because I think, just like in our classroom, it's so important to have speakers in our classroom, whatever unit you're doing, invite some people in the community to talk about the topic, because, just like here, I felt like they were my resources, you are speakers for me. So tomorrow when we do our Zoom, I want you to talk about this. So I was kind of already talking about what things that you want to share in the car on the way home. We have 4-hour drive. So we were talking about what are the things that you could possibly share in the Zoom. And so they were ready. So I did not just put them on the spot. I actually kind of gave them some time to think about what you might want to share, because everybody had a different thing, different ideas on what they want to share. And so I think that was a good balance of information that you got, from strategies to the programs to, driving out, so out of the school things. So yeah, so I hope that everybody did gain something from that, because when you get here, I'm going to have you invite to my home, and you can be here talking to them. And by the way, Dr. Elvin, I just signed a survey form for you from North Little Rock. Have they scheduled an interview? They scheduled an interview for you yet? Those are some good schools.
I'm done with North Little Rock. I'm waiting too long for that. Probably I don't know, but I'm applying with several agencies and several schools.
Okay.
Every day I am sending applications, and
but obviously they like something, because they've asked you to do the interview. Usually if they get that far, then you are in the top 5 to top 10, depending on how big the school is. So you need to examine yourself and see. You might want to watch the Josephine video again to see if you're doing what you're supposed to say on the the interview, because
I'm waiting for Miss Ellis Hampton, the very young principal in North Little Rock, for 7 and grade 8 campus. And then just this week, I had interview with Global Synergy, and I have another scheduled interview for Global Teaching Partners.
Okay. Well, I want to wish you the best. And I think because your credential is so amazing, and science teachers are really rare to find here. And with your doctorate degree, that should be good. The thing that's why the big schools are looking at you is because the little schools cannot afford you. When they look at their column and the number, how many years of experience do you have?
24 years.
Okay, you're gonna be in the maximum. So you're gonna be, because a lot of time they stop at 20. After 20, then you're not gonna get, you know, the raises that the others are. And then with the last column on the doctorate part is really high. So a lot of times you may be making more money than the principal. You know, so yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
I'm happy with Ma'am Leila because she already have the job offer.
Yeah.
And among the participants here, I am one of the oldest. I mean the
regulars.
Most of my contemporaries are already in the United States. They're in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So I'm praying so hard that I'll be given a job offer anytime soon.
Yeah, and if your wife doesn't get one, what you need to do is go ahead and apply for J2 for her, or whatever H4, if whatever visa they give you, J2 possibly. And then that way she can come, and if you don't have a job, if she doesn't have a job yet, you need to be talking to the administrator and say, hey, my wife is also a teacher. If you ever had an opportunity, you're planning to hire somebody, please keep her in mind, because they're planning it a year ahead of time. So if you're gonna want somebody hired the next year, you need to be talking to them now. And that's what I did with my teacher, with my sister. You know, she got divorced, my Mylet, when she first got her degree, she got divorced from her husband, and she lived 45 minutes away. And so I knew she was moving close to me. So the year before, I was already talking to my bosses. I'm like, hey, if you ever have an opening, my teacher, my sister is also an elementary school teacher. At that time I was teaching elementary. And that she could really use a job, because I want her to move here. You know, we help her buy a house here and so on. And so she got a job. The next year there was an opening, they put her in, because a lot of times here, when you're related to somebody and you push for them, they usually, you know, meet your needs. You know, like for example, husband and wife, they want to keep the husband, they want to hire the wives. So with coaches, a bunch of the coaches' wives are teachers. You know, Salem told me at one time, Merlina, the next 5 hires that we have are coaches' wives. So there's not even an opening for anybody else, because we want to take care of our coaches so they would stay here. And so just like you know, it's very hard to find a science teacher. So we need to hire Dr. Elvin's wife first in order for him to stay. So, you know, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So
I'm praying so hard to be given a J1 visa, just like Sir Mike, Ma'am Christine, Ma'am Abby.
Yeah.
I mean H1 visa, same with Ma'am Leila.
Yeah, but J1 is converted after we work on mics and them, and if they get here, that's the next thing I'm going to do is get the first batch to have theirs changed to H1B, because then by then we will know how to do it. Miss Mills and I will know how to do it. She's still waiting for that funding part, because we don't know how much it would cost really. I mean, she has been approved to have this, you know, the amount, like for example, the budget, for example, is 10,000 per. So she was given the funding approval of 40,000, for example, because for the 4 teachers. But then the actual check, the actual amount that you're going to send to the immigration is what we're trying to find out, because they have to write that exact amount. And that's what we're trying to find out, what exactly is the final amount, because it differs from one school to the next, because it depends on your number of workers that you have, the number of workers that have H1B visa. There's some extra $4,000 or some for schools that had more than 50% of their staff had H1B or, you know, a J1 visa. They pay more. They're kind of penalized. Well, they don't have that. They only have 15 teachers total, and then their number of teachers maybe more than 100. So it's not 50%. It might be 15% or something. But anyway, so we are trying to see. I'm trying to. My brother-in-law, who's who I always ask, is on a cruise this week, and so I could not like just text him, hey, I need to know this or whatever. So when he comes back this weekend, I'm gonna, after he rested, I'm gonna ask him. We need Miss Mills need to do that, because she has to do a requisition for the actual amount, you know. And so anyway, so Mike, that's where we are, Mike. Paperwork is ready. It just needs to have that money to enclose, you know, because the choice of paying is either paying them with a check, the exact amount, and then or cashier's check, or you can do a authorization to charge a credit card, but the school really doesn't feel comfortable about giving out their credit card numbers. And so And so they have to like create an vendor number. In order for you to be put in the system, they have to assign a vendor number. And so then USCIS have to be assigned that vendor number. And so anyway, that's where they are. And then that school, Mike, where you're going to be, it takes forever to do anything because they're taking over with the state. Everything they have to do that needs approval had to go through the state level, the Department of Ed. And so anyway, so whatever step she does, it takes that. So yesterday I saw her, I picked up my check and she said, well, if you ever talk to them, tell them that we are closed. I said, yeah, because I was really hoping that it would be mailed like yesterday. That's what I was hoping, but it did not, it didn't happen. But they're working on it. She said, yeah, I'm trying to push it where it would take, faster time, because I think they have a way to do that inside. If they just do the regular way, it takes them a few days, but if you do a little kind of rush and emergency type on it, and then it will be faster. So that's what we're counting on. I'm gonna see her Monday. So we're gonna see where they are.
Merlina,
Yeah.
how far is North Carolina to how far or how close is it?
It's a plane ride. So you might, if somebody has a Google there, you need to put a distance between North Carolina and Salem, Arkansas. And then you can see the drive part, but just, I think one plane ride from Little Rock, one plane ride, you go to North Carolina, South Carolina. They're very close to the beach. So that's a really good area. Those are the two, but they pay, actually, Arkansas pays more than the Carolinas. So we actually, that's very surprising.
Okay.
Somebody just told me, she said, Merlina, I think one of the girls have, one of the teachers that are here has a friend who works there, and they make, in Arkansas, they make 4,000 or 5,000 more than the Carolinas. That really surprised me. But you have to remember, when you're teaching in a really poor district, where 70% or more students have free and reduced lunch, which means poverty, that they are getting paid twice as much. Like, for example, every student is worth $10,000. That's the budget. Like if you have 200 students and it's times, 10,000, that's the budget you have given by the state. But if you have high poverty, that's double. So every child is worth 20,000 instead of 10,000. And so that's the
Thank you
budget.
very much, Doc Merlina.
Huh?
We have 9 minutes more, but
Okay,
if you
9 minutes.
would like to
Okay.
extend, okay.
Yeah, well, extend it because I want to see. I may have even new people here. I do not know. Marissa San Diego is new. So Marissa, do you mind talking to
She's
us?
not new, Doc,
Huh?
but she just joined this week.
This week. That's why I thought her
Checking
name.
the attendance.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hey, Marissa, do you mind talking to us? I know I went straight to the meat today. Usually I kind of talk about introduction and so on, but we have regulars here and I know that you're new. So let me put you in a spot. What I always told everyone that to prepare a 2 to 3 minute introduction and look at it in the mirror, practice with it or practice with your family. And if you're new, you might not know that, but before your first interview, you want to do that. Make a smooth interview, like very easy. Like, hi, my name is Merlina McCullough. I am from Salem, Arkansas. I have been in education for more than 30 years. I have several experiences in education, from being a teacher for close to 20 years, being an administrator, a K-12 literacy specialist, state specialist in literacy, and mentor coordinator, ESL, whatever it is that you say. And then you say, I really want to, I went into education because I've always had passion about teaching. I remembered when I was smaller that I would teach the neighborhood kids. I would always pretend I was a teacher and I would gather up the kids and I would teach them. And that's why I knew that that's gonna be one of my passions. But later on, when I went to college, I actually ended up becoming a law student because in the Philippines, our expectations, the highest expectations of our parents are being a lawyer or doctors. And so I decided that I'm going to go into that. But then later on, when I moved to the US in '87, I decided, I'm going to go back to my first love, which was really teaching. Because here I am in a new country where I don't even know the laws. So I decided to become a teacher. And I'm so glad I did that because, it had been so much fun to learn about the American culture and then me sharing my Filipino culture with them. And so that's where I am. I'm here in the US and here talking to you. So feel free to ask me any questions. I want you to come to the US because you might want to end with that. Or I want to go teach in Arkansas because. So that's it. I just kind of pretty much give you the, notice I did not say anything about my family. I didn't know that, you don't tell them any personal stuff. I have so many kids. I have, I'm this years old. No, don't tell them of your age. They could, don't give them a weapon to discriminate against you. Some people may discriminate because of your age. And so the number of years of experience is okay. They can do their math, I guess. But what degrees you got? Like I have my doctorate degree from Arkansas State University. I had 4 degrees from there. I actually am a professor there right now. Well, not this year because I've been saying no to that because I'm so busy with this other job. And so anyway, so those are the things that you would say, things about you, professional, your degrees, your number of experience, your passion. Why did you get in education and why do you want to come here? Those are the things that you want to say, if you don't mind. Notice everyone, I did like an exemplar, like an example. That's what you always do with students. You need to always give them an example of what you want the answer or whatever to look like. So either you can use it like verbally like I did, or actually would show, you have your overhead projector or whatever, to actually show them an example, an essay. I always read it to them and I would put it on the projector so they can see the essay. And that's what exactly the kind of format I want you to do and so on. And that's an example of a good one you want to share with them. Okay. All right. Now, I actually also did that, Marisa, so to give you time to think. Okay. Anytime you want to come in, talk to us.
Thank you, Doc. Well, before the introduction, I have attended several meetings already, but I missed 2 because one was I was sick. Then last week I was so busy with doing some homeworks for my further study.
Okay.
Now let me introduce once again myself.
Okay.
Hello everyone. I am Marisa San Diego, and I am currently living here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I have been teaching for 15 years already. I am teaching physics and other sciences as well. I actually finished a Bachelor's of Secondary Education major in physics. During the pandemic, I took the opportunity to finish my master's as well, major in educational leadership and management. And then I was also given a chance to study again, and I am now taking some hours in SPED, special education, wherein Sir Mike is my classmate.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering what the connection was. Was that? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
My husband actually encouraged me to study because being situated outside the Philippines, it's really difficult to do further studies. But because pandemic happened, we took the opportunity for some online courses that university in the Philippines offer. So and now I am studying. So I came from a family of teachers actually, and so probably that has influenced me as well to go into teaching. And then I always like what you have said, Doc. I actually experienced teaching my playmates when I was little, and from then I knew that one day I think I really wanted to pursue teaching, and until now, after 15 years, I still feel happy to be in this profession. It's not easy. It's not always pleasant, but at the end of the day, it's so satisfying to see at least one student learn, one student tell you that I learned something new because of what you did, because of the strategy, Miss, that you shared. And you know what? Not to boast, but actually this week I received an email from a parent telling me that she was so thankful that her child is seeing a sense of responsibility at a very young age because of the strategy she's learning from my class. So with that, it inspires me more to continue despite the challenges of being a teacher. So I wanted to try also in the US. I was here in the Kingdom of Bahrain for more than 10 years already, and I got into thinking that what if I try in the US? What else can I learn there? What else can I contribute to their education system as well? So while I am thinking of learning from the strategies and the system in the US, I would also want them to see that we Filipino teachers have a lot of things to share to the American students. So that's why I would like to try.
Very good. Yay. Let's give her a round of applause. Yay. Yeah. Okay. And this is a wow. Wow. Another one is AWESOME. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, very good. You're very fluent. And you went from one topic to the next very fluently. And it's very obvious that you're passionate about education, and that the example about the parent letter is really powerful because it's a testimonial. You know, the parent, anything that you can use about parents saying something, or a colleague saying something, or supervisor saying something to you, or sending you something, it's very, very good with interviews as examples, because it really makes it real. It really makes it specific for you, individualized for you. Because if you just give them generic answers that they've heard before, then it's gonna be, you won't stick out. You know, you stick out like a nail, and you have to be hammered, but but you want to be hammered with an opportunity to come here, you know. So tell me about the pay there in Bahrain. How much a teacher's paying? I know usually topic of money is uncomfortable, especially here in the US. You know, they really hardly talk about money, but for us in the profession, it's nice to compare from country to the next. How much are they paid there? Are you all paid there?
Yeah, well, when I was in a Philippine school here, pay is ranging from 45 to 60. But I was fortunate to be offered a job in an international school, and pay. Right now, I am there. It's my second year, and the pay ranges from 75 to 130,000
Okay.
pesos.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That seems to be nearly doubled for you. Yeah, that's awesome. Here it usually starts about $40,000, which is 2 million pesos, and so and then and up. So if you have your master's degree, that's another 4,000 or 5,000. If you have your specialist, that's another 2,000 or 3,000. And so if you have your doctorate, kind of pretty much add between 8,000 to 10,000 of the base. And so then your experience, you know, it's some schools would actually give you like, you know, how many years of experience you have. Some schools would only take 10 years from another school, depends on what the policy is, but they have that like a salary schedule. And on the salary schedule, they have the base, you know, and then they have the number of years. So they would have this way, the rows, and then the columns would be the education, you know, BS, MS, you know, ADS or specialist, and then your EDD, which is your doctorate. And so that's why Dr. Elvin gets the maximum, because he has the number of experience, the rows, as well as the column, you know, to meet that. Go ahead, Marissa.
Yeah, Doc, I just have one question, because maybe, yeah, last year only, when my family and I decided to pursue this application in the US. And with that, I really prepared, because actually I even told some friends who are telling me to apply that I'm not really open for this school year because I have an existing contract for this remaining school year. And I really prepared. I finished every document that is I think would be needed. And last time you told me, I was the one who got the New Mexico teaching license out of. Yeah, but then I did not mention that anymore, because you said that it can be a turn off to some administrators if you mention. But when is the best time to include that, Doc?
Well, actually, in Arkansas, you have to be careful when to mention it, because the Department of Education here is allergic to that.
Yes.
But some of the principals really do not know any better, especially those that have never hired international teachers. You just mention it, and that's actually a positive thing, because, oh, maybe the reciprocity process, and you might say things like, I think the reciprocity process, licensure reciprocity may be easier for me because I already received the New Mexico licensure. So the reciprocity between Arkansas and New Mexico might be easier than another country to the US. You know, so I feel like that might be a plus for me because I already have this, you know, already processed and received the New Mexico licensure. So that should help you. And for immigration purposes, you know, the questions and so on, a lot of times the school would hesitate to hire the first one because they don't know what to do with the immigration paperwork. And so just remember that if you are a J1 visa, under J1 visa, which is most common, you will need to have a visa sponsor. And a visa sponsor is listed under designated visa sponsor. So you just need to Google designated visa sponsor in quotation and then put US with it. And then it would have a list. And then go under, when you see the list, then they will have lots of profession there from au pair all the way to teaching and medical. And you go to teacher and you click on that. And then you see the list of visa sponsors. You need to stay on that list because those are the only ones allowed to be a sponsor. So if you
I
get another,
actually, even that, doc, I have prepared for that because I have tapped into a group. It's not an agency, but I think it's a third party in there that has a connection to give you, although there's pay for their
do
services.
that. Don't do that.
So
Don't do a third party because you're just wasting your money. Because they're like having an extra bridge when you can go straight to the actual bridge, which is your visa sponsor. So that's ridiculous that they would charge you $2,000-$3,000 when you can go straight and save that much money. You could pay that for your fare or for your family's fare. So do not, again, everybody, J1 visas, do not go to any third world agency, even though they might tell you, oh, we have a direct partner, whatever, from the visa sponsor. No. Cut the middleman. Go straight to the visa sponsors. They have to be on the list of the visa designated sponsors for you to even think about it. Do not hire anybody. I don't care who they are. Do not try to hire a third party because unless you just have lots of money to waste, then you hire them. But if you're really trying to save money, I would recommend, and I'm sorry to say this to people that are third party sponsor because that is a waste of money. Those are for people, and they are useful in ways when they are not teachers, when they are like, especially with some of our our folks in the Philippines that could not read or do not know how to do paperwork. Of course, they can use that because they are the ones local. They might be the one to help them. They can use that service. But us as teachers, where we can read instructions and follow it to the full extent of the instruction, we don't need them, right? But there are people that need them. Yes, their services are needed by some people. Like for example, if my mom did not have us when she processed her paperwork, my mom only had elementary education, she would have needed them. And in fact, they recommended my ninang there, my godmother there, said, you should hire an agency. My brother has an agency. And I said, I'm sorry, Mama Jean, but I can do it because I've helped so many people here do immigration things, so as long as you follow the directions, you're fine. Because that's what the third agency is doing, is they're following the direction for you. So they're actually just doing the work for your reading, and we can read. Okay. And so that's why you go straight to the designated visa sponsors. They're the only ones. And that's what I'm working right now is to become a visa designated sponsor in order for me to actually be able to get the visa.
Hopefully before the school year.
And have a control over it. And not.
And Doc, one last thing. Since I am now taking hours, not units anymore, because you said don't say units, we do hours. So I'm taking hours for special education. And right now, although I am a secondary school teacher, a licensed teacher, but I am currently teaching math in primary. If I will have this special education degree or units at least, and then I was, for example, I was fortunate to be hired, will I get the chance to be placed in an elementary level? Because of this special education, because it doesn't have that level for middle school, high school, and elementary if you're SPED, right?
Yeah, SPED is K-12, yeah. So yeah, you will have, yeah. So your experiences right now, elementary, would help you if you also are teaching special ed students. Are you also teaching special ed students?
It's an inclusive school.
Then that
But
would, yeah, that would be like, you still have to take a praxis test for the level. And but for you as a special ed, you just take the special ed praxis. Once you pass that, you are eligible to work K-12. So a lot of times they don't really serve kindergarten, because they usually give them time to, like, learn their ABCs, but they don't really cannot test them until first grade. And so actually it's grades 1 to 12. And so, yeah.
Since being in the primary, it could be an advantage as well.
Yeah.
Because I was really, really looking forward, because with all the sharings that you are giving us every time, it already, like, it imparted in my heart already that maybe it's better to have the elementary students rather than the bigger ones.
Don't think that way. I have two teachers right now that I'm working with closely that are both elementary teachers, because their kids are just as mouthy. I mean, they're just like, they just talk and they just like to show out. And they run to the classroom, and you have to stop them and have to tell them, hey, have them to line up again as if it's the day 1 of school, because they still don't know how, and all this. And then when I go to the room, all of the backpacks and all these things are all over instead of neatly. And I said, that is a safety issue. Kids could they could trip over that. So I have to tell them things like that. And I said, well, their desks, they're so messy. You need to try to see, organize their desk before the end of the day. So your classroom is a safe place. It's a pleasant place for the students to have. So yeah, it doesn't matter what grade you have, you're gonna have. I was working with a teacher who was a second grade teacher and had problems with classroom management. So yeah, you cannot get away. Sorry.
Like what you said earlier, you can never get it. You will always have at least one student that
at least
behaves differently.
Yeah, they always say guaranteed 10% of your students. So if you have 20, at least 2. So guaranteed 10%. Anyway, so yeah, I think I think the trick is, because I was trying to reflect, why is it that my sister and I never had any issues with discipline? Never. And we have been in education for so long. And it's because you just fake it until you make it. When I first started teaching, the first 2 or 3 years, I'm like, oh my gosh, they are so tall. Even I started elementary and then became a secondary later, elementary, and they are 4th graders and they tower over me. And so you just had, one year I have this kid that's really tall and really big. I felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm just like a third of his size, And so this giant in my room and was the bully of the whole school. So I had to deal with him. And this kid became one of my favorites because I really worked with him and found out what he's into and kind of tap into that. That's the example that I said earlier about him loving to fly, loving flying in airplanes and so on. My husband is a pilot. We had a plane at that time. And so I had them to come and show them about pre-flight checks. And his goal was going to be, a month worth of nothing in trouble. And then I worked with the parents, and he finally got to actually ride in the airplane with Mr. McCullough. And so anyway, so that was like, he was wanting to constantly work on that in order for him to get another ride. So that was the key. I found that, the teachers were like, Merlina, what did you do with so-and-so? This kid was so mean and was so awful to the other kids. And now he's like one of the nicest kids, because he was like helping me, helping others. And so he became a better student, a better person, because he had a goal that he wanted to meet. And then later on, it just became a second habit to him. Like, it's actually better. People are actually, and he told me this, and he said, actually, we're reacting to him better, was nicer to him because he's nicer to them. I'm like, there you go. You just receive what you're giving. That's kind of how the world works. You send something out in the world, and that's the world's going to send something back to you, positive things. And so I think this kid is now emergency EMT, emergency management, something, the ambulance people. Yeah. Yeah. He works for that now, helping people. And so anyway, yeah. So I keep up with them because this is such a small town. And unless they move to another place, well, they're friends on Facebook. And so anyway, so yeah, so it's kind of neat to have that. But sorry, Marisa, that I just got to you about introduction. I didn't know that you've been attending and we've just been ignoring you.
No, it's okay, Doc, because I get the chance to. I flopped during the first introduction, but I think I got my redemption
You did,
today.
yeah, you did awesome. I'm so sorry that I didn't even remember that you did that already. But when you said Bahrain, that reminded me. You know,
Yeah.
you were off. You know, you were off level or off area. That reminded me. I'm like, okay, so sorry. There's so many people. You know, I'm like, the joke here is everybody looks the same to them. Like when they first come here, I'm like, I'm seeing all these white people, you know, I'm in a community where mostly white, and these long noses and white skin. And the only people that I really could differentiate was my husband and his family, immediate family, but everybody else looks the same to me. And then later on, I said, I can't believe I thought they were the same when they are so different. Same thing with the black folks.
Arabs. Same with the Arabs, doc.
Yeah, they
here.
look the same to you, right? Yeah, the African American folks, they look the same to me. You know, you kind of noses that like African, you know, noses and black skin. And now I can really differentiate because they have such thing as colorism. I don't know, I'm sure I've mentioned this before. Colorism is within a culture, like we have colorism. Like we think the fairer you are, the better, right? You know, like the whiter you are, the better. In our culture, we kind of want to be white. You know? Yeah, the fair. And then in their culture too, in the black culture, the blacker they are, the uglier they think it is. So the fairer it is, the better to them. And that's a colorism. And so we have that in our culture. And you have to watch for that because it's you know, some people do not even realize that they are very much they're biased towards the lighter color. You know, one of the teachers here was asked by her student, I think it was Abby, or no, it was Leslie. So I'm black. What do you think do you like me? Do you like my color? You know, that's one of the students asking her. And so she said, oh, I love your color. I just think it's beautiful. And that's what she said. But they are really wondering, what do you think of me? Because that actually tells the teacher of their self-confidence and their, you know, belief in themselves. And so when you are being asked that, of course, you're going to say, yes, I love, I mean, she's very genuine about it. And that's what I feel. I feel like I love my kids. And the more underdog they are, the more that I want to know them and I want to really be on their side. Because, you know, the Teddy story, you know, if you have not read the Teddy story in the support site, find that, because it's the Teddy story where he was just pretty pitiful and then he ended up to be a doctor later, and, you know, so all that stuff. So it's really, it makes me cry every time. But anyway, so the Teddies in my classroom, those are my favorites. And every year I have a Teddy in my classroom, and I'm really, you know, I want to know my kids before they even come to me. I've seen all their cum here is CUM, cumulative record. So the cum is a requirement, but you have to look at their cums. And then I would get my little notebook and I would record things about the student, about what the other teacher said in the past. And, you know, everything there gives me information, and I would make a little record of everything to give me information about the children I'm getting. Because we get the list at my school where I went to, we get a list the year, you know, like the last 2 weeks of school, they already got a list for next year. And we already posted outside our classroom, to the kids from 3rd grade already seeing that who their 4th grade teachers are. So you're over there getting hugs from your four future students. So what I ended up doing was I would take a picture of them. You know, they're still 3rd graders. They wouldn't come to me until after summer, but I took a picture of them so that on my bulletin board, I already have them there. And then with the cum record, I kind of already got information about them, you know, and so on. And so, but the comments from the previous teachers to me is so important, because you pretty much sums up about the child. But sometimes you can also see that what year they're having problems with and what year they're really struggling in, and so on. And a lot of times when you hear, because they write a lot in my classroom, every day they're writing something. You know, they write from my future house, my future job, my future family, my whatever, you know, what am I going to be in 10 years? What am I in 5 years? Everything about them every single day. They're writing something. That's my little short journal thing that I do. And then I actually give them 10 points, you know, and then at that time, I'm not correcting it. But I would see for myself, what are the mini lessons I need to do? So if I see my students not having capitalization, so the next day I'm going to say, okay, everybody, I noticed that your journal yesterday, nobody capitalized, you know? And so anyway, so today I want you to get a highlighter. They always, you know, one of the requirements to have a highlighter. I want you to highlight every start of your sentence, because I want you to notice that they are needing to be capitalized. So another day I would notice they're not putting end marks. So I said, okay, today you're going to be you're going to be underlining, you're going to be highlighting the beginning and also the end mark. So if you highlight in the end and there's nothing there, you better remember to do end mark. And so then it became a habit. Later on, I said, okay, I'm gonna have you stop using your highlighter, but I want you to imagine, because I don't want you to be doing that on the actual state test. So I'm weaning you off of your marker, of your highlight marker now, but you need to imagine that the highlighter is still there. So you need to always point, your finger here, start, you need to make sure you do that, because I want you to have that complete sentence, and then later on I would challenge them. Okay, I'm looking for the longest sentence you could ever know and still make sense, that it's not a run-on sentence. So I want to say at least 12 words in it. And then I want to challenge you that at least 2 or 3 of those words are multisyllabic words. That means that 3 syllables or more. So big words. Instead of saying nice or just say pretty, you say beautiful or fantastic, those things like that. I'm looking for those. So highlight those big words for me. So little things that I want them to look for. I'm actually getting to know my students, but at the same time, I'm seeing the things that I need to work on the writing. So I use that. So I'm actually covering 2 of the core propositions. I'm doing the knowledge of students and knowledge of content. So, and of course, I'm assessing as well. I'm assessing where they are on the writing. And so later on, I would say, okay, I've noticed that everybody is starting the same way, or I, like this. I want you to highlight with a different color. I want you to highlight the beginning of your sentence. I want you to see, for example, blue, all the blues, and see, are you starting with I, or they, or he, or she? Beginning of the year, they always do that. We do that at the first grade, second grade, because we're trying to teach them the structure, and all this. And later on, we need to vary from that. Now that you know how to form a sentence, now let's show that you don't start the same way. You need to notice that, the style of the writing is going to be given a low score if they start the same way. That's one of the things that they do, is varying the beginning sentence, the beginning of your sentences. That's one of the style things that they look for. And another thing that they look for is that they have complex sentences. They have compound sentences, comma and, 2 sentences that are combined together, comma and, comma back, comma or. That's when I show them how to stretch your sentences by combining 2 sentences together with a comma and then the next sentence. So that's how you combine them. Okay, because I bring a spaghetti pieces. So I want to tell them, I said, you know how spaghetti, whenever you eat, they have like really long spaghetti. That's like your sentences. And sometimes you have some really short ones. And that's what the good style is. Sometimes you might just say, hooray, exclamation. You just have an interjection, and that is part of your story. And that's part of your style. But because you're also doing the different types of sentences, well, at the same time, you're doing the different, types of sentence. So you're the length and the type. So you're going to have your simple, complex, and compound sentences. So short, medium, and long. And then you have the ones that end up with exclamation point and it ends with question mark. So a lot of times you put in the question mark maybe at the beginning. Have you ever wondered why the beginning? So that's one of the things, the specific way to start a sentence is maybe asking the audience a question. And when you ask it the question in the beginning, you have to answer it. I tell them that. And at the end, you can always say, how about you? What do you think about no? So of course you don't expect to be answered, because that's the end of your statement. Yeah. And so anyway, because I'm literacy, I focus on literacy. So I would use that, but at the same time, I get to know my students. By the Christmas time, I know everything about the student, because on top of having their morning do now, at the end of the day, last 15 minutes, they also write about their day, about their thinking. A lot of times I would know who's having a crush on who, and whose kid is so popular among the girls or among the boys or whatever. And anyway, so things that happened that day that made them happy, sad, whatever. So I would even have things like, what are the saddest day of your life? What's the happiest day of your life? And so on. So we have about 5 minutes left. Dr. Elvin. Okay. So anyway, I always end up sharing other things, but Marissa, thank you so much. I think you'll do an awesome job. So I want you to go to www.schoolspring.com and you choose the country, choose the state you want, and then start applying. Everybody, www.schoolspring.com. Dr. Elvin, is that what you've been doing? You've been going to that? Because everybody's been putting their job post for teaching there. And you can filter them, full-time teaching, you can filter them on the side and just find them. So if you want Arkansas, you pick Arkansas and you only see Arkansas jobs. So if you want another,
I would love to be in Arkansas.
Oh, well, thank you. That would be nice. Yeah, I would love that too, because
it's nice to see the house of Doc.
Oh, it's very simple. Very simple.
To be fetched in the air to be fetched in the airport by Dr. Merlina.
Yeah, we do that. I might, I was really thinking, I'm like, oh, I need to save money to buy a van. So I could take a bunch of them, because right now I'm like, I can only take like 5 people. And so anyway, well, I think my next car might be something like an SUV with a 3rd row or something. You can get like 8 people in it. So yeah, that would be awesome. Like this year alone, I have more than 30 that I brought in the US, not just in Arkansas, but other places. And I keep up with the names. And so I counted, and they're 32 or 33, something like that, less than 40. But in 1 year, that's in 1 year. So that's pretty amazing to have that many that got hired. So yeah, so hopefully some of you will be there, sooner than you think. But Dr. Elvin, we have high hopes for you. Okay.
Amen.
Now,
I'm
indeed.
trying so hard, Doc.
Yeah, and of course, Layla is here. Thank you, Layla. Congratulations on the Vanderbilt again. I was bragging on you
Congratulations
this
to
week.
Layla.
Yeah, I said, Miss Layla, I said, I have, because they were talking about Vanderbilt this week, because my daughter, my bonus daughter and my bonus granddaughter were here, and they are in Nashville. So I said, hey, one of my friends that in my Zoom all the time, Layla, Dr. Layla is going to be in that Vanderbilt. I'm going to have to go visit her, when she gets here. And so she said, oh my goodness, that's so exciting. So April, I'm glad you applied. I think you heard me talk to Mike about, we're getting close paperwork wise. And who is Giselle? Thank you again for being a regular. Is that Furby? I don't have my glasses, Furby. Okay, Furby, thank you again for coming by and stopping by. Anyway, all right, so that's all I have, unless you have a last minute thing that you want to say. Thank you so much. I look forward to this. I know it's so funny this morning. I told them last night, we were visiting, because we didn't even get home till about 10 something from where they were, because we stopped by the shop. We kind of did a lot of stopping. And so finally we got here, so tired, more than 4 hours later. So so we stopped by, and then we had to have wine, little red wine, and also relax. And then I told them, hey, in the morning, here are some food over here. If you all want to cook, if you wake up before me. My gosh, they woke me up, because I said, our room will be open. I'm not going to close it. So you just like tap me and wake me up, because a lot of the times on Saturday, it's a time to, sleep in. And so Abby, I think, was trying to wake, Miss Merlina is, you have Zoom today. So I woke, okay, thank you. I said that. And then I went back to sleep. Then another person came in. I think Christine or somebody said, Miss Merlina, don't go back to sleep. You're supposed to get ready for the Zoom. Anyway, but then I could smell all these breakfast things they were doing. They have like fish, lapu-lapu fish, the red snapper, and they have this dried fish soaked in fresh tomatoes and olive oil. They have chorizo, and they have all kinds of things that they already got ready. So I said, I felt so bad, because everybody was working, including Abby's husband. So I said, I feel like I'm not contributing. So I said, let me wash dishes, you guys. I said, I don't, I'm the host. I'm supposed to be doing all that. But they feel so comfortable. Like, they know we don't cook the dried fish inside the house because it smells so bad. So they were already, Abby and Leslie was already, cooking it outside, and then bringing it inside already smelling so good with tomatoes. So yeah, I can't wait for you all to come and join me doing that. I want to see if, I want to see, take a picture this time. I had a boy I have a female last. I'm going to put Edini here. Edini, can you talk so I can take a picture with you on it to post on?
Yes.
Last time it was, last time it was Mike. Last time it was Mike. So I want a female here today. So I don't know how you make it where you're the center. So you'll have to talk to me, Edini.
Yes, Doc. I really like to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you smile, everybody. I'm taking a picture for the post for the support group. Okay, got it. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. God bless. Thank you, everyone.
Next
Thank
week,
you.
Thank you.
everyone.
Bless
Dr. Merlina, thank you
everyone.
so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye bye.
Keep on applying.
Yeah, keep on applying. That's
Yes, Ma'am
right.
Leila.
You have to see
Don't give
Layla here.
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye bye.
God